Hello, sweet Doc Martin friends, and welcome back to today's caffeine and collabing. Today we're going to do a free talk here. My choice of caffeine is a Diet Coke because truthfully, today I'm fasting and I've already had 2 very large coffee drinks. But I will say Diet Coke, for some reason, particularly these baby ones, whew, do they get me going? I think they put like crack in these or something because wow. But anyway, today we're going to talk about, how do I put this lightly? Being a shopaholic. We're going to touch on this, I hope, in a way that is going to be gracious to everybody. And you guys know I joke a lot on here about being a shopaholic. The caveat to that truly is that for a large period of my life, I was living in delusion and poverty. And I feel like at 32 now, finally, there's a light. There's a light at the end of the tunnel after countless hours of research and countless hours of accountability. And I want to talk about this with you guys because I feel like on a fashion platform, okay, our job as influencers is to influence you guys, right? We want to influence you, we want to inspire you, and a lot of that unfortunately does involve purchasing things. And the one thing I want to preface this with is that the thing that I take away from it is to purchase the things that you just love the absolute most. And you really have to be able to discern and not react emotionally when you are purchasing. Okay, without further ado, let's just get right into the conversation. So almost my entire life, I've had a shopping problem. And it got monumentally worse in my last relationship, and I figured out why. I had figured out why it had gotten worse. And I'm not going to share that with you today. I do not think that is a requirement to share, but it was an underlying psychological issue from many perspectives. And once I was by myself and I was alone and I really had to buck up and understand what it was to be an adult. I know that sounds sad AF, but once I was alone and realized the value of money and maybe the detriment of not having any, I really kind of went into panic mode. It really did start in a state of panic. My habits around money, the way my mind started to shift around money, also having influence from someone who grew up in a wealthy family really helped as well. There's just a different mindset around money. When you grow up in poverty, it is like black and white. So essentially the mindset around money growing up in a wealthy environment is that you live off of as little as possible. And this is obviously, only one of the ways that you can save money. And I do feel like this is unfortunately a lot harder for women to do just because our upkeep for beauty, no matter which way you toss it, is just not cheap. So one of the things that I took from what I had experienced in order to stop shopping and to really hone in on my money habits was to adopt that mindset. How little can I actually live off of, and how much money can I save? So as I started to do this, the funny thing, I have been tracking my finances for almost 7 months straight, every single penny I spend, every single penny that comes in. And I still found that I was spending so much on clothing, and I couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, wow, I'm really pulling back. Wow, I'm doing so good. The problem is that as soon as that state of panic set in, also my income increased. So it was kind of that fluctuation of the typical middle class mindset, okay, where income increases and guess what happens? Growing up in poverty, guess what happens? You spend more money. And this is not how you become wealthy. This is not how you adopt habits of a wealthy person. Okay? A person becomes wealthy, obviously, inheritance aside. Okay? A person becomes wealthy and stays wealthy by living off as little as possible. And I feel like even once you've reached a level of wealth, depending on your degree, obviously, if you're famous or something like that, I think it varies, but you need to continuously discern what is actually worth spending your money on, because if you don't, there is no way you will be able to keep that wealth. Money does run out no matter how wealthy you are. And again, I'm sure you have heard people say this. That is why people who make 6 figures, 7 figures a year sometimes are still living, do I want to dare say, paycheck to paycheck. And you all are probably wondering, well, clearly, Samantha, you have not completely stopped shopping. No, I have not. I have not stopped shopping. However, I have learned a boatload about money and discernment, and really, really, really have shifted my choices in what I purchase, how I buy, and my mindset around money. And the domino effect is finally starting to show. And my next task, and I'm going to say this on here so you all can hold me accountable, okay, is to do a no buy. And I will be doing this no buy for as long as it takes to properly invest my money, because I have started investing, but I have not dispersed my funds in any amount of way that I feel would be beneficial to me over time. And that is something that I want to spend that money on, that I have been unfortunately purchasing additional clothes. I would like to disperse that money into more investments. I grew up in poverty, guys. I grew up broke as fuck. Like, when I say broke, I mean, like, we were sleeping on mattresses on the floor. We were we were walking the city streets at night. The buildings had graffiti, and I remember so many times my mom was so broke that we could not afford food. Okay. This is how I grew up. All right. And unfortunately, my mother, God, she was a sweet soul, and I would not be any sort of good human today without her in my life. But she had no concept of money at all, finances whatsoever. My father was a bit better, but the issue with my father was that all he knew how to do was save. He did not know how to invest. So essentially, it was up to me, who had the entrepreneurial mindset from a young age, but no resources and no help and no one who wanted to see her succeed, to figure it out. And I will say a huge stepping stone to this was my ex, because he was the wealthy family. He was the wealthy family that taught me so much about finances, like so much about finances. And from that, I used what I learned from him, and then also did my own research. Knowing that I've saved up a few thousand was enough for me to be like, okay, all right, I can be responsible. I can be an adult. I have cushion. I can take care of myself. I've had multiple things pop up within the past few months since I've been on my own, and I have been able to take care of myself no problem. And yes, my sweet friends, at 32, this is my first time ever having to be on my own. And I know that sounds childish, but I do want to be transparent with you guys about just the delusion around finances and my life that I was living in for so long, and the detriment and the time wasted on those who just truly did not want to see me succeed. Even though there has been a lot of good influence in my life, there have been people that have, and I think personally where I can take accountability is I had messed up because I was so immature, and my mindset around myself and my actions was still very immature. But I am really grateful for this push that I had gotten from the universe to be on my own, because I do not think I would be as driven to pursue what I'm pursuing now. And I think that I would still be a shopaholic. I can successfully say that I am no longer a shopaholic, that I am in control of my emotions, and whatever underlying issues were triggering my shopaholic issues in the past, I have removed from my life. And I am able to discern what I choose, what I purchase, and what I don't. And just the simple act of being able to save up a few $1,000s has made me feel so empowered. And I was watching a video the other day, and this very rich gentleman made a statement. He said, the thing about money and saving it, well, first of all, that's only one part of the process. But the more money that you have put away and the more money that you have for yourself, the safer you feel. And as that pile grows, you are more empowered to be riskier with your money. And that means investments, that means businesses, that means you could maybe afford to lose a few $100,000 in a risky investment you might have made because you thought it was a good one, but you're still going to be okay. And that is how you acquire wealth over time, in combination with putting your money into investments that bring a significant return. Another thing I've done is I've sworn off credit. I don't have any credit cards. I only have one loan. And again, that was a stupid mistake I had made on my part financially. A very foolish one, as a matter of fact. And I do have student loans that I do need to pay off, but I have no credit other than that. I have no credit cards, and I have one loan besides my student loans. And my plan to kind of break this down is I kind of plan to go backwards. And you always hear pay off your debt first, pay off your debt first. And I do think your debt absolutely needs to be paid off no matter which way you toss it, because you are binded to that debt and it will hold you back. But I'm kind of taking the backwards route, and I am going to make my investments work for me, essentially. So I want the cushion. And then with the cushion, I do plan to pay down my debt. And another piece to this, obviously, is increasing income. You cannot get out of poverty without increasing your income. If you get a second job, if you get a third job, if you, I don't know, you got to do what you got to do. I've managed to completely rid myself of poverty, almost completely. Do I want to say I'm there yet? No. But growing up on the streets, okay, and, being here, guys, like I feel truly empowered, the most empowered and confident I've ever felt in my entire life. And I feel like I'm only a quarter of the way there. So to put that into perspective, the small changes over time do matter. And I have been at this, I've been chiseling at this since I started this channel. So if you guys go back to my old videos, you will see what my room used to look like. You will see it was clearly a reflection of my mental state, but I put it on the internet because I wanted to be real with myself. And I wanted to track my journey of how I knew that I was going to change my life. And yes, we are still in production, my sweet friends. We still have a ways to go, and it is a tough, tough journey, okay? But if any of you guys are struggling with buying things or a poverty mindset, or you want to be wealthy, I'm going to tell you that one of the first steps you have to take is to discipline yourself, to discern, and to figure out what the underlying issue may be of why you cannot stop buying. I don't talk about trends on this channel mainly, I shouldn't say mainly, but 70% of the reason I don't talk about trends on this channel is because I want you guys to become inspired with what you already have, or I want you to become inspired through finding your own style. I don't want to throw up a trend in your face. Doc Martens aside, guys, I got myself into this hole. We're utilizing it. Okay, we've talked about this. But Doc Martens aside, I am not here to tell you guys what to buy, or, I'm not trying to bleed your pockets, essentially, is what I'm saying. And I'm also not going to sit here and say that if a sponsorship did not come along that I was not enamored by, or a brand that I really stood by. You guys know and see me wearing almost the same brands all the time. Here and there's an outlier, but I'm really true to the brands that I love, and I have been for years. I've been into fashion for years. Even though I was a shopaholic, the outlet for that too was creativity for me. And I did used to use that as an excuse, did not make it okay, but it was also a creative outlet for me. And, there's that piece to take into consideration, but I had to be an adult about it. And that was where I was going wrong. But overall, guys, as I continue on this journey, I hope to one day be able to discuss not only creativity and fashion, but also how to hone it all, how to really enjoy life and be creative and also be safe when you're alone financially, mentally, physically. You know, I'm all about that psychology-ish. So like I would love to tie some of that into the caffeine and collabing that I do on this channel. And that was kind of the mindset I had when I went into this. I would like to continue doing these little sit down talks with you guys, you know, update you, talk about fashion, talk about, I don't know, money, whatever, you know, whatever I feel like, you know, or we feel like, whatever you guys suggest or would like to hear from me. But, you know, I'm feeling another nudge, you know, another push by the universe. And I think that I'm headed in the right direction, and I think that I have really changed the entire trajectory of my life by simply being honest with myself. And I think that you guys could do the same if you're struggling. If you're not struggling, if you're just chilling, teach me, you know, like tell me about it. Because it's an art. It's an art. Money, especially for females, I feel like is God, they take our insecurities and they just strangle us with them. That's exactly what they do. And we get all wrapped up in all this emotion and we think we just need it all in order to be pretty, beautiful, and for men to want us. And it's just not the case. It's not the case. Most men, not boys, most men want a homely woman, okay, who takes care of herself but also has her finances straight. A man does not. I'm most, again, I should not speak for all. I should also say a real man, a real husband does not want a woman who cannot discern and handle herself emotionally and financially and physically. So if you feel like you're being pushed in a direction by your insecurities, you need to nix that shit right now. No one gives a fuck. And it took me so long to accept that no one gives a fuck. Excuse my language. I hope I'm allowed to say that on here, but I give a fuck. I want to look good. I love my fashion, my style, my creativity, the way I dress, and I will continue to serve myself in that way because it does make me happy. It keeps me my feminine. But I will be sure that going forward on my own, I will be able to take care of myself and I will never, ever, ever have to rely on anyone else to take care of me. And that is the biggest mental shift that I have made because I have always relied on someone else in my life to take care of me. And I don't know why I was so insecure and so weak-minded and so delusional that I was in that space, but that is really truly what caused me to continue in the cycle of being a shopaholic, not mindful whatsoever of how I was taking care of myself. But no one taught me. I had to teach myself. And like I said, my ex taught me a lot. He taught me a lot. I will give him that. He taught me a lot about money, finances, wealth, and just the mindset of growing up around a large amount of money. And I'm just thinking about the way I grew up, and it's so different. You know, guys, like if you did grow up in poverty like me, if you're someone who grew up with a family that just didn't understand money, I feel like it's so detrimental to the entire trajectory of your life in so many ways. And I get so sick and tired. I get so sick and tired of the idea of keeping up with the Joneses. I've never been one to keep up with the Joneses. I've just been done with my money. I've never cared about having the nicest car or the newest phone or, oh God, I have to have a house bought by the time I'm this age. Truthfully, I want to be tied down by nothing so that the money that I make, I can be risky with and inherently create wealth. I don't even have a desire for a mortgage. And I know that sounds almost dumb. And everyone I say that to, they literally look at me like I'm crazy. But in my mind, if I'm not buying it in cash, if I cannot purchase it in cash, I don't want it. I don't want debt. I already have school debt that I have to take care of. I do not want any additional debt. That is why I swore off credit. Because again, it's that mindset. Okay, I have this money to spend on this card. Okay, but no, you don't. No, you don't. And I know they say, oh, keep at least one credit card because you need to have good credit. Yeah, if I'm paying in cash, if I'm wealthy enough to pay in cash, I don't need it, bro. That's the whole point. I ain't giving my interest to these banks, fool. Okay, that's all I'm saying. It sounds crazy. Okay, it sounds crazy, but there is one guy that I listen to too, and he's very big on the internet. Maybe I'll try to look him up. I can't remember his name. He was on the Gordon Ramsay podcast. I know that for a fact for a while. He does his own thing now. But he said in one podcast, and I caught this, and I was like, oh, I knew it. He had a really bad experience with credit before he achieved wealth, really bad experience with credit. And he specifically said in that podcast, he uses no credit. You don't need credit. You don't need that. First of all, you don't need money that you don't have. Like, that's really the gist of it. You don't need a nice house to tell everyone how nice of a house you have and that you're so far in life when you're literally $100,000 in debt and you're paying freaking 2% APR on that house. You are going to be in debt the rest of your life. You're never going to be able to take a risk. I'm going off on a tangent about this. I'm sorry, guys. This is not supposed to be a financial platform. It's not. I digress. Okay. Ultimately, you guys will not be seeing anything new coming into my wardrobe. Except I've made an exception. I've made one exception. And even this exception, I'm iffy about, okay? But for the sake of the channel, for the sake of what this channel is built on, it is something that I would like to keep. One pair of Doc Martens a month. And even that's pushing it. But I figure if I can even get rid of more of my clothing and maybe make displays for the shoes, if it would come to that, that's kind of where my head is at. To shrink my closet down, but I'm keeping the boots, at least for now. There may come a day when I start to sell them, and I've seriously been considering it. But that day is not today. That day is not next week. That day is not anytime soon. And if I did decide to sell them, I would be letting you guys know first. But you will not be seeing any single new article of clothing coming into my wardrobe. And you guys are going to have to trust me, and I'm going to have to trust myself that behind the scenes, I will not be bringing in anything new. So this channel really is going to turn into a channel where what we have is what we got, and one pair of Doc Martens a month. And I'm going to try not to even do that. The only way I'm going to purchase a pair is either A, if you guys recommend a pair to me to style, or there's a pair that I just like, God, I can't live without. And even then, I definitely could live without them. But yeah, we're going into a no buy indefinitely. I don't want to say how long it's going to go. It's going to go as long as I can deal with it. And it's going to go as long as I can go living off of as little as humanly possible. So again, this video was also kind of sit down and say that we're going to be having fun with the clothes we already have because we have plenty of them. And we're going to be getting real creative on this channel. And, oh, also one thing aside, if I get sponsored, if I would, by the grace of God, get sponsored by any brand, okay, obviously those would be new clothes. But that's okay because it doesn't count as spending money. Okay, as long as we're not spending money, that's all that matters. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, guys, I truly hope that I helped you all, or did help you all at least a little bit with this, and being transparent with you about like my journey and how I have struggled with being a shopaholic and finances, and that there were other underlying issues as to why I was a shopaholic. There always is. Just like with eating, I say this as a personal trainer, there is a psychological issue if you are obese. Food is an outlet. If you're a shopaholic, shopping is an outlet. Both, unfortunately, are horrible habits that you have to force kick. And it involves checking in with yourself and being honest and direct with yourself. Like you just have to be honest with yourself, and you have to discipline yourself. But there's empowerment through those things, and they are the hardest things you will ever do in your life. Take it from me. and you will fall down 10 times, but you got to get up 11. And if you're not getting up, what are you spending your life doing? You're spending your life on the ground, and no one wants to be on the ground. Who wants to stay down there? No one. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't want to judge, but me, no, I want to rise. I'm a riser. I want to rise. I don't care how much I suffer. I will rise. Okay? I don't know. I don't know why I'm like this, but here we are. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this talk. If you guys like this video, please subscribe, comment down below, notification bell. Okay? Tell your friends there's a girl on the internet who likes to style Doc Martens. And as always, I love you guys so much. You guys are the greatest. I love that I can talk to you guys on here, and I know you're listening. Yeah. You guys have gotten me through a tough time too. You guys are the real ones. But all right, I will talk to you guys in the next video.